Chairman Will Davis. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And our DPG Rural Council, led by Chair Kathy Frederickson. Oh, thank you. Pulling double duty, working check-in as well. Thank you so much, Kathy. I want to say a special thank you to State Senator Freddie Powell Sims for being here with us tonight. Thank you, Senator. Now, y'all know while we're here, we have a critical election coming up. We got one in 26. We got one later in 2025. But the first critical election you've got coming up here is just in a week and a half. On May 3rd, our state committee will be electing the first full-time paid chair for the state party. And I don't have to tell you that this is a critical moment for our country and for the state of Georgia going into the 2026 election. It matters who we elect to lead this state party. And the six individuals seated before you have put themselves forward to lead our state party and chart a course into this next very critical cycle. So I want to thank all of them for being with us here in Albany tonight. Of course, as y'all know, this is just the first of 4 statewide candidate forums that we'll be having going into the state committee election on May 3rd. Our next one will be in Cobb County on Saturday, and then next week we'll have one in Toccoa and one in Statesboro. Before I get too much further ahead of myself here, let's just take a moment and pay tribute to this great country that we all are so grateful to live in and to serve. And I'm going to call forward our 2nd Congressional District Chair, Will Davis, a veteran from the Marine Corps, to lead us in the pledge this evening. Mr. Chairman.
We'll all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, those of you in the audience, those of you who are watching online through YouTube, to learn about our 3 other candidate forums, where they will be, to sign up to attend, or to submit questions for these candidates to answer live on the stage, please visit our DPG website at georgiademocrat.org/DPG election. And there you will see links for each of the candidate forums after tonight. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, of course, this is being live streamed on YouTube for Democrats all over the state to watch. It also will be available archived on our Georgia Democrat YouTube page after tonight. So you can go back and watch at your leisure if that's your thing. Also, if you are watching online and you are like me and you can't watch anything without closed captioning, just push the CC button on your screen and YouTube will automatically close caption for you during this live event.
Yes, sir.
Good. All right. Just run through a few more announcements before we get started tonight. One more event we have coming up after we elect a new chair. On May 20th, the state party will host a Unity fundraiser in Atlanta. That information is also available on our state party website at georgiademocrat.org/DPG election. We're asking for Democrats all over the state to come join us in Atlanta that evening for a grassroots fundraising event. Tickets are $50 or $25 if you're a young Democrat. And we have encouraged each of our chair candidates to kind of show their ability to fundraise by joining the host committee for this event. They each have their own unique Act Blue links that you can purchase your ticket to support a candidate of your choice, and they'll get credit to go towards getting on the host committee. So all those links are available on our website or favored candidate. Okay, let's get on with the show for tonight, and let me start with some housekeeping. The format for tonight is going to be very simple. We're going to start out with some opening statements. Each candidate is going to have 2 minutes to give an opening statement, and then we'll jump right into questions and do about an hour's worth of questions. The first 40 minutes will be questions from me, from this podium. These are questions that have been submitted ahead of time from local Democrats here in Southwest Georgia, along with other Democrats from the Rural Council and around the state of Georgia. We'll also have some time for audience members who are here this evening to ask questions. And at the appropriate time, I'll direct you to come to this microphone down here and ask your questions. And we will, of course, give each candidate an opportunity to give a closing statement of 2 minutes before we end the evening. Questions? Candidates. You guys already know this, but we'll just ask that you use your time to please highlight your platform and your vision for our state party and show how united we are, regardless of who wins this election going forward. Okay, so with that, I think we are ready to start with opening statements, and we are going to go in alphabetical order this evening, except as someone with the last name Wilson, who has been last his entire life, we're starting at the end of the alphabet tonight, okay? So our first candidate is going to be Elena Sanders.
Good evening, everyone. As my former constituents call me Commish, my students call me Professor, I am Elena Sanders. And I am running this evening because the Democratic Party needs a new lift. We don't have any strategy. As we see the other parties that shall remain nameless has a whole entire playbook, and we don't have one ready for us. And so looking at that strategy, we have to be tactical. We can't just no longer go to battle, we have to go to war to make sure that we have things in place, picking the right candidates, making them accountable, having the funding that we need to move forward as a Democratic Party. I am also a business chair that teaches operation management. I look at this position as a CEO or COO, the Chief Operating Officer. And you have to have the skills and the drive to lead and also know strategic management skills. And that's what I teach the students every day. And I thank you so much for this time to have me here. And again, I am Elena Sanders.
Our next candidate is Nabila Islam Parks.
Hello? Hi, I'm State Senator Nabila Islam Parks. I'm a twice-elected state senator, and in the state Senate, I'm known to be a fighter. Prior to being an elected official, I have been working on Democratic campaigns, and I was a highly sought-after campaign operative. I was a national fundraiser for Secretary Hillary Clinton when she ran for president. I did her Southern States fundraising. And then the DNC hired me to be their Southern States Finance Director, where I raised millions of dollars under Chairman Tom Perez ahead of the 2018 midterms. I've also worked for another state party, the Florida Democratic Party, hired me for their Leadership Blue Gala, where I helped them raise over $1 million. And I'm very committed to my own county party. They hired me on as their strategist, and I helped them raise over $300,000 and to get out the vote. Now, as a state party chair, I want to be a true partner to our county parties and make sure that they have the resources to succeed, that we have an aggressive field program that is ongoing during the on-year and the off-year, and that we also have accountability and transparency within the party. Oh, and also aggressive candidate recruitment so that we flip as many seats we can up and down the ballot. And I have those direct experiences to do just that. And so I look forward to earning your vote to be the next DPG chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Jay Jones.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. My name is J.J. Jones. I'm a servant leader, and I'm running to be the next chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia. I was the first Democrat elected after being held by a Republican seat for 24 years in Chatham County. That district didn't know it was blue until we got grassroots going. That fight brought me to the fight here at the table. And from that fight, I went on to be a part of the Democratic Party in Chatham County as a post-seat holder, as a committee chair, as a vice chair, and eventually the chair of Chatham County. From that fight, we flipped every seat in Chatham County. So from that fight, it brought me to the next table of being the first congressional district chair right here in the Democratic Party of Georgia. And as the Democratic Party of Georgia first chair, I sit on the executive committee, the bylaws committee, the diversity, equity, inclusion committee, and I sit on any other committee that I can get on as far as making sure the progress of the party moves forward. I'm running because we need true leadership that understands how the party works from the inside out. We need aggressive leadership that's going to show up to the table and work for the people in South Georgia. Rural Georgia has been forgotten. African Americans have been forgotten. It's time for us as a party to remember the base and work for all the people, not just some. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Wendy Davis.
Thank you. My name is Wendy Davis, and I've spent my entire adult life involved at every level of the party, from learning the ropes as a young Democrat to my leadership in my county party. I've been a dedicated member of the state committee, and I lift up the voice of Southern and rural voters as one of your DNC members. I lived in Rome for 25 years, and I grew up in Metro Atlanta. And as a professional political strategist, I've worked in every corner of Georgia and across North America. As a twice elected city commissioner and Berry College alumni director, I developed a solid record as a transformational leader. I take pride in finding common ground and building lasting relationships while standing firm on our progressive values. I'm a collaborative, strategic, and results-driven leader, and these are the qualities we need to build a stronger, more unified, more effective Democratic Party of Georgia. For far too long, we've left our county committees, affiliate organizations, caucuses, and councils without support or even encouragement. We have recruited candidates with empty promises and let our incumbents make their own way without bringing them into the huddle. We must learn from these mistakes and from our painful losses. With this new chapter for our party, we must convene regularly to plan and track our progress. We must connect across the current divides, collaborate, bringing innovative ideas and new leaders forward, transforming our party into the battle-ready team to flip those PSC seats this year and went up and down the ballot in 26. I look forward to taking your questions tonight, but we can only cover so much ground in this limited time. So you can see the details of my extensive career and bold plans for the future of our party at wendyforus.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Hardy Davis.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Wilson. So the good folks of Albany, Georgia, I appreciate you for welcoming us here in Southwest Georgia. Good folks, family values, and I'm proud to be here this afternoon. Hardy Davis, the son of Monroe County, born in Macon, Georgia, raised on union wages, a family that taught us the values of hard work, faith, and a good education. I'm running because I believe in the power of now. The power of now for us to not only expand our tent and stop shrinking it, but it's time for us as Democrats to put a plan in place that allows us to not only invest in a 159 county strategy that I call the Georgia Forward strategy, robust plan of hub counties in all of our cities and communities that allow us to identify, train, recruit, and build talent. The second thing we want to do is rebrand the Democratic Party's messaging. Common sense approach, family values, jobs, healthcare, education, and public safety. Instead of us moving to a place of being diminished as a party around warfare issues. These are the things that drive our community. These are the things that matter to folks in rural Georgia. Will I be able to send my children to school? They'll have a good education. Are they living in safe neighborhoods? These are the things that are important. I've walked this road. I've served in the House, I've served in the state Senate, and 2 terms as the mayor of Augusta, Georgia, leading our city to becoming the cybersecurity capital of the nation. I've governed, I've won races, I've delivered on results. This is what I plan to do as the next chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia. We can win, we will win with a strategic plan that allows us to build. We also want to invest in our young Democrats. Instead of us inviting them to the table, we want to give them the microphone. They're our next generation. They're the ones that will drive this party in the days ahead. And we need to make sure we're bringing them into this conversation in Hardy Davis.
And our last candidate is Charlie Bailey.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to Oak Ridge Baptist Church for having us here tonight. My name is Charlie Bailey. I know most of y'all from my past runs as the AG nominee in 2018 and Lieutenant Governor nominee in 2022. But let me tell you just maybe a little bit about myself. Maybe you don't know. I'm from Harris County, Georgia, northwest of here on the border with Alabama. We got at least one Harris County folk here. I grew up there on a cattle farm, went to the University of Georgia, joined the Young Democrats there, was the political director of the Young Democrats. That led me into working in politics, worked on a couple of congressional campaigns as a staffer and organizer, managed a congressional race, actually met Senator Freddie Powell Sims here when I worked for the last good lieutenant governor we ever had, Mark Taylor, the last Democratic lieutenant governor, in his governor's campaign in 2005, 2006. I went to law school at the University of Georgia after law school, and since then I've worked to get justice for regular folks harmed by powerful interests and violent people. In the civil justice system, I've sued big insurance companies and big corporations. In the criminal justice system, I represented victims of violent crime and tried to get them justice. I'm running for chair because right now in America, right now in Georgia, the only hope for working people is the Democratic Party. The only hope that we can have an expectation that somebody might not be snatched off the street in broad daylight, hauled off to God knows where without evidence, without an attorney, is the Democratic Party. And if we believe that that is the case, and that ups the burden on the state party to do its one job, and I do believe it has only one job. That is to elect as many Democrats as humanly possible all over this state. And if we believe that, then we believe the chair has got to do three things. Three things I will do. One, raise a tremendous amount of money into this state party. Two, spend that money strategically and directly on behalf of candidates to win races and flip seats. And three, build out 159 county year-round organizing infrastructure in our party so that the folks on the ground have all the support and resources they need to go out into the communities and get votes for our candidates. Look forward to taking y'all's questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, I do want to acknowledge we do have one other candidate in the race, Jamie Allen, who unfortunately was not able to join us in Albany tonight due to a prior work commitment. For those folks keeping score at home, in order to qualify to be a candidate on the May 3rd ballot for chair of the state party, candidates must complete an intent to run form. The deadline to submit that form is by midnight tomorrow night, the 23rd of April. I think almost all, if not all, the candidates on the stage currently have filled out and submitted that paperwork. But if not, you might see at our next forum the stage get a little smaller. So just pay attention to that. Okay, let's jump right into this. And this first question I'm going to pose to every candidate on the stage. And I'm going to give each of you a minute to respond to this question. This comes from a totally random Democrat from Dougherty County named Joyce, who says, what is your plan to bring out Democratic wins in Georgia, even in red areas? And I'll start with Hardy Davis.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Joyce. Our plan, again, is a 159 county plan that's rooted in what I call 25 to 40 hub action counties. These are the strategic counties where we know our numbers can be run up, and instead of us losing 70-30, we can bring those margins into a place of where we're competitive everywhere, and we can win anywhere, particularly in these areas of interest where rural Georgia is concerned. But that requires us having permanent infrastructure in place. Too long we've been invested in pop-up politics of where when there's a presidential and a gubernatorial election, we get involved and we energize people then. What I'm interested in as the next chair is making sure that we build permanent hub action county infrastructure that allows us to have people in place. And we're also identifying, recruiting, training talented candidates who can run from the bottom of the ticket to the top. School board, sheriffs, city council, judicial members, mayors, and local leaders that we then are able to energize the ballot box.
Rural counties, rural Georgia does have competitive seats. Look no further than Representative Gerald Green, right? He is someone that in his district, Democrats statewide and nationally have won year after year. And we need strong candidate recruitment and investment in making sure we're getting the strongest candidates to run for office will be a primary goal of mine. Also, investing in those races. How can we empower these candidates to perform so that they win these races? That means injecting cash into their races, teaching them how to fundraise. The DPG currently does not have a candidate training program. That will also be a priority of mine. Also, I want to be a partner with our county parties. That means making sure that they have the resources in order to succeed. I will implement a continuous grant program that invests in our county parties in rural Georgia and gives them the monetary and financial support that they need and trainings. So how we win in rural Georgia? Aggressive candidate recruitment, getting good candidates to run for office, giving them money, teaching them how to fundraise, and also having a strong ground game. I mentioned earlier, the DPG should own its own field program, and I want to support our candidates with organizers and field staffers so we knock on every Democratic door. Thank you.
Chair Wilson, this is a good question because outside of the 1st District, Chatham County is the only county that's actually an urban county. The rest of my counties are all suburban and rural counties. And I want it understood. We can say all day long until we're blue in the face about trying to put resources and put efforts into these counties. If we're not helping them fight voter suppression, if we're not helping them get people, good candidates to say, I'm willing to challenge it there, to challenge the rules and challenge things in those counties, we're never going to see any turnout. One thing we did in Chatham County and one thing we did in McIntosh County, we got the first Democratic elected in a ruby red county. And how we did was we had conversations with Republicans and Democrats because we understood we needed Republicans to show up just for that race right there. And we won our first election in a county that actually still voted red all the way down the books. So we have to find those right races that we can take the time to win. Because with those small wins, we can multiply those wins into bigger opportunities. And we have those bigger opportunities, those greater opportunities will fall into the governor, into federal elections. Thank you.
Wendy, go ahead.
Thank you. How do we win everywhere? We start by focusing in the local county. We look to the leaders like the people populating this room. You know Dougherty County, you know the neighboring counties, you know your home county better than any of us. Smart as we can be, all the data we have, y'all know your communities. What I want to do is empower you with help, with support, with money, so you can be planning and thinking ahead. What are the races that are realistic for you to bite and chew on and win? In some counties, it's going to be all of them, right? And let's get exciting candidates who are connected to the community. Let's teach them how to raise their own money. Let's teach them how to campaign. Let's support them with organizing. But most importantly, y'all have the wisdom to know what we can do. In my county, which is Floyd County, 70% Republican, I hate to say it, we started with the cities. And I say to you, there's not a city in this state where we can't get Democrats elected.
Thank you.
So in 2018, as a nominee for AG, I got 49% against an incumbent, even though we were outspent 4.5 to 1. We raised millions of dollars, and we hammered that Republican. We hammered that Republican, Chris Carr, for making people less safe. The number one thing you got to do in any race, in any part, I'm from, like I said, rural Georgia. I grew up, Mama had the Dukakis sticker on the back of the car, and there weren't any Dukakis stickers in Harris County as we rolled around. So I know what it means to talk about cutting margins, because we cannot keep bleeding in 130 to 159 counties. But we got to raise a tremendous amount of money, and then you got to spend that money to hammer these Republicans. You cannot assume that all these voters out there know that these Republicans have been lining their own pockets and lining the pockets of big corporations and big insurance companies. You cannot assume that. You have to beat them over the head figuratively with this money, and you have to do that through a bunch of different mediums: organizing, TV, digital, radio, all these mediums. And when you do that, every person, every family member in this state, when they get up in the morning, they're principally worried about three things. Is my kid safe? How they doing in school? If I get a hospital bill, can I pay it? We hammer these Republicans on making that harder, and we will flip seats.
Thank you so much for that question, which is a personal issue for me. What I did not hear is, what is the problem? You have 159 counties in the state of Georgia, and 159 are not going to be voting for us. They're not even represented. We have to do the research to find out why they are not participating. I can tell you why. I've talked to some of my former constituents who don't have faith in the local party anymore. They have issues that we on the state level, those on the state level, don't hold them accountable. Why they don't have faith in the Democratic Party. You have to do the research, get down to the problem, to the root of the problem before we say, how can we get them involved? We have to know the problem. And once we get them involved and find out the problem and do the research, which we don't do as a Democratic Party, once we do the research, then we can get them back together and build those areas that don't have representation on this Democratic Party. There are almost 400,000 people who are about to be purged from the voter list. Have we pulled that list? Have we seen how many are Democrats? And have we seen how many are in the rural areas to be able to knock on their doors to let them know that they're going to be purged from the list, to bring them back onto the list so they can vote? We have to get to the root of the problem before we solve it.
Thank you. Okay, our next question. I'm going to give you 90 seconds to answer this next question, okay? Give you a little bit extra time, because I think it's going to ask you to produce some specifics. How will you give local communities a stronger and earlier voice in statewide campaigns? This is from Tim, and let me ask it again. How will you give local communities a stronger and earlier voice in statewide campaigns? I'm going to start with Nabil.
Hello? Hi. Well, I would say that on statewide campaigns, DPG can partner up with statewide candidates after the general election, during the general, of course, and make sure that their message is hitting every county party. They need to be traveling the whole entire state and talking to as many folks across the state. I know that there seems to be there's a urban and rural divide. And Democrats think that if we win Metro Atlanta, that'll be enough. That's not enough. We have to compete everywhere. And I will make sure that our candidates that run statewide are traveling everywhere and they're speaking to folks in North Georgia, in Middle Georgia, and South Georgia. I think it's very important that we are visible, that the Georgians feel heard and listened to. And that needs to happen earlier on, because the messaging that comes from these candidates will come from us. And I think it's important that we shape that messaging correctly from the beginning so that we keep hammering that message over and over and over again and get out the vote. I think that will be very important. Thank you.
Charlie, same question. How will you give local communities a stronger and earlier voice in statewide campaigns?
Well, the idea with having year-round organizing is you don't have to start at the beginning of a campaign. You know, that you've got some muscle memory built up and relationships and communication. So there's not like a starting gun goes off and, oh, now let's go talk to the people all across the state. Nabil is right that we need to, and I certainly will encourage candidates. It is the state of Georgia. Last I checked, 50 votes in Dougherty County count the same as 50 votes in Tiff, count the same as 50 in Savannah. And if you're trying to run a statewide race and you're not doing that, then that's a surefire way to lose a statewide race. But if we've got that communication ongoing, because we've got that infrastructure already built up and it's year-round organizing, then it's not so much, okay, now we have a candidate and now go meet everybody. So you're going to be in from the beginning, because we're going to have that year-round organizing. You're not going to be sitting in a local community, whether it's in Dougherty County or Crisp or somewhere else, and say, well, I wonder where in the world my state party is. Well, I wonder. You're not going to be wondering, because there's going to be clear lines of communication and coordination to make sure that those counties have the support they need technical support, social media and communications support, organizing, training, all the way along through every year. So I think that's the biggest change from maybe what we've got now, which is now we got some candidates, now we have nominees, now go meet people. If you're doing that, we're going to lose a lot of races, so we won't be doing that.
Same question for Jay. How will you give local communities a stronger and earlier voice in statewide campaigns?
Matthew, I'm gonna stand up for this one because you know what? In this building right now, I have two people who represent the second district. Former chair Bobby and current chair Davis. Both of those brothers right here are part of a structure that already exists within the party. And that is the congressional district chair system. And we need to use the congressional district chair system because these people are elected by district across the whole state of Georgia to represent what needs to say in each one of the different regions. And if we start using the structure that already pre-exists, then guess what? We can change things. But we have to use a structure that already exists. Too many times, and Kathy Frederickson as well, too many times we're forgotten in the mix of our conversation when we talk about coordinated campaign. If you don't come and talk to Jay Jones in the 1st Congressional District, you're not going to get much done because Jay Jones is the one who's connected to all the different references in the 1st Congressional District. I don't go in the 2nd unless I talk to Will Davis or Bobby Hughes because you know why? They know the pulse of what's going on in those communities. And so when we start using the structure that already pre-exists, then we'll start making things happen. And I agree with you, Charlie. We need to be year-round, all the time, aggressively, trying to make sure we do everything we can to flip and get Democrats under our tent in our hat. Because that's the only way we're going to be able to deliver, and that's going to be the only way we'll win.
Thank you. Okay, for this next question, same thing, 90 seconds. Wendy, we're going to start with you. Different question. Southwest Georgia is not, now if you're really, you get 90 seconds, so if you're really talented, you can answer both questions in your response. Southwest Georgia is not properly represented, this comes from Maggie. Southwest Georgia is not properly represented at the state level despite the demographics being predominantly black. And we know that black voters are more aligned with the Democratic Party. What is your plan for Southwest Georgia to engage registered black voters to flip seats and ensure Senator Ossoff is safe in 2026?
Thank you for that question. So first, let me say I am no stranger to Southwest Georgia. In 1996, it was my pleasure to move down here and help Congressman Bishop get reelected. The first time they tore his district to pieces, they took away his 13-year political base of Columbus, and they took away Macon, which was a lot of African-American voters. So we had to reach these 31 counties and get him reelected. We were able to do that because of the power of the work he had done. Let's take that as a lesson. You can reach voters if you're talking to them about things that matter in their life. Democrats do the work that helps families, that lifts up families, that keep us more secure. So we need to be going after the Republicans in ways that they don't do that. But we have to get the work done. And part of the way we get that work done goes back to that other question. It's about election readiness. And our county committees, what have we asked y'all to do? We've asked you to exist. You do more than that. And you want to do even more than that. We are going to give you an opportunity to plan, to plot, to come up with ways that you are going to be ready for those elections. You don't need anybody to tell you we have 2 statewide elections this November, and we're going to have a coordinated campaign to get that worked out along with our municipal races. You already know that. You can already be finding a headquarters. You can be ready when we start hiring those organizers so that we pick your county first to send people in because you're ready to receive that extra help.
Elena, same question. Southwest Georgia is not properly represented at the state level.
What a commissioner does and how it affects their livelihood. We have to educate the voter to let them know how important that we vote or die, as we say the old term. We have to show them that our elections, voting, is the only way that we can change things. And by going into those areas and making sure the resources are there, the education is there, and making sure those individuals are actually voting and are registered to vote, we have to be present in those various areas. We also have to provide the resources that they need. Those areas are underfunded. And if we have the resources they need to get the people out to vote, we could be flipping seats daily. We have to have a strategic plan. We cannot only plan when it's time for an election. We have to plan year around and make sure we have the right people in place to run these seats who are electable. Not just the favorite person that we want to see in the seat. They have to be electable and hold them accountable once you place them in the seat. You put them there, don't leave them there.
Hardy, same question. Southwest Georgia, what's your plan to engage registered black voters to flip seats and ensure Senator Ossoff is safe in 2026?
I think I can speak to this. One, I'm a black man. Number two, black men want to hear about issues that matter to them. I mentioned it a moment ago, and everybody seems to have carried this forward about the year-round organizing. We start with hub counties, and we organize year-round and put permanent infrastructure in place. That's vitally important. The second thing is we've got to talk about issues that matter, particularly with black men. Black men are interested in how they're going to take care of their families, whether their kids are going to attend good schools, and whether they're going to live in safe neighborhoods. Those things matter every single day. And the reality of it is they matter to whether you're the man who drives a Bentley in Buckhead or whether you're like me and you drive a Ford truck over in Baxter, Georgia. Those are the things that matter every single day. And so as we talk about issues, the kitchen table issues, that's how we get people of color back out to the polls. We saw that black men voted at roughly 78+% in this most recent election, black women at 92+%. So we're going out to vote, but we've got to be able to maintain that energy and that enthusiasm, but maintain that attention around the issues that matter every single day versus us engaging in, again, these cultural warfare issues. And those things are the things that are ruling the conversation in the day when what matters most is, can I put food on the table? Am I able to take my kids to school in safe communities? Do I have healthcare access and opportunities? And are we expanding those things for all Georgians, not just black Georgians, but all Georgians?
Okay, this next question is going to be for everybody. So each of you will get 1 minute to answer this question, and we will start with Nabila. What does a true year-round organizing strategy look like under your leadership, and how will it be measured?
Okay, so in order to do this, it is going to be expensive, but I'm confident that I can raise the money to do it. I've raised over $50 million for Democrats, and I'm invested in making sure that we have a year-round organizing program that has regional directors across the state and field offices and canvassers that are from our communities so that they know their neighbors, they know how to talk to their communities. It needs to be regionally led, county led. I will be focused on making sure that we are figuring out how many, we should have accountability to this. So we need to know how many doors have been knocked, how many completed conversations. But on top of that, the targeting. We need to double down on our base. Voters of color, folks in rural Georgia, young people. We also need to be expanding our base by also targeting low propensity Democratic voters. I did this when I ran my organization, Save Our Senate, during the runoffs. I raised over $250,000, and we knocked on 34,000 doors in 2 weeks of low propensity voters. 80% of them said that they would vote, but no one had ever contacted them. I will make sure that we do that when I have put together an organizing program.
Thank you. Elena, same question. What does a true year-round organizing strategy look like under your leadership, and how will it be measured?
Number one, as I'm always a researcher, that's the first thing I'll say. You have to do the research to make sure what is needed. And once we do that, we have various organizations that we do not utilize. I'm the president of the 13th Congressional District of Democratic Women. You have Working Family Party. I'm also a leader in Local Progress. These are individuals that are doing the work as well, and we need to partner with them because they are also boots on the ground. And when you partner together, we have a big conglomerate, a big agency that's doing what's needed to be done. Also, we have to motivate those who are the boots on the ground. As I stated earlier, you have to show them the importance of flipping those seats, getting people in place, and also we have not focused on local government. We have to focus on local government to make sure those people are in place. And that strategy also includes that we are continuously canvassing, continuously doing grassroots organizing. We cannot stop, because once we stop, we're going to be behind. As I stated, the other party already has a plan and a playbook. They've been working on it since Biden, and we don't have anything in place.
Charlie, same question. What's your year-round organizing strategy look like, and how are you going to measure it?
Well, first we got to assess what we've got. You know, we've got some counties that have robust infrastructures already. They've got their neighborhood captains. They've got, I come from a place in the state where there weren't actually neighborhoods. It was just like parts of the county. There were roads, but they have people in charge of those areas. We've got other counties that badly need support from the state party in terms of that technical support and communication support and organizing training. So some are going to need a lot of that before we can start building up the infrastructure. And there's other counties that don't have county structures at all. You know, Taylor County right up the road, where my friend Fred Wattler is the mayor of Reynolds, you know, he organizes Democrats there every big election. He does it because he's a Democrat and because he cares, but there's no county party there. We've got to build up county parties because there's Democrats in every county. So we've got to build up the county parties in counties where we don't have them. Once we do that, then we can set up a regional program, and it goes from the regional director down to the county, down to the part of the area of the county, and then down to the neighborhood captains, and we have those people identified already so we can vote the organizers in.
Thank you, Charlie. Hardy, same question. What is your year-round? I'm sorry, Hardy. No, you haven't answered yet. What is your? I got a spreadsheet. I'm checking. Making checks on. Hardy, what is your year-round organizing strategy look like, and how is it measured?
Well, it starts first and foremost with identifying who our current county chairs are, and we know who they are. There are not 159 Democratic Party chairs across the state of Georgia. We don't have many chartered. So it's with the chairs, building that infrastructure and putting it in place from a permanent perspective. There are 25 to 40 hub counties that we then begin to establish regional approaches. I drove through Crisp County, I came through Worth County, and I ended up in Darden County. In order for us to be able to build those regions, the data tells us where those key areas.
Thank you. Just a reminder to all the speakers to please hold the mic really close to your mouth so that our viewers on YouTube can hear you loud and clear. Jay, same question. What is your full-time, year-round organizing look like, and how are you going to measure it?
I feel like I'm going to repeat. It goes back into your congressional district chairs once again. We already have a structure. We already have a program already in place. We just need to implement it and then put support behind it. When we're talking about year-round, sis, you said it right on hand. It's 450,000 people in less than 2 months that may be removed from the rolls. What is the plan? See, I can tell you in Chatham County, what we do is we already print those 21,000 people because we got vote bill. And we start calling those people and finding those people and working those lists of those people so we can see if we can get as many people back on the rolls as possible. When last time these candid conversations and speak to those people who are out of the loop. These candid conversations and speak to those people who are out of the loop. That's how we'll change things in the country.
And Wendy, same question. What is year-round organizing look like under your leadership, and how are you going to measure it?
So we have to start with our baseline, right? And as we have all discussed, it's about our county committees, but it's not about just do they exist, is there a chair? I feel like we have to, as our strategic plan that we developed a few years ago says, have tiers of how we group our counties. Some counties right now, we have nothing. We have barely a wisp of interest, right? That needs a special kind of attention. We have other counties where they haven't had a lot of work. We got to get extra love in there. Bring a team of people in to show them the ropes and how to lift things up and start working toward election readiness. We have a whole bunch of counties that have a lot of good things going on. They just need time to plan and think of how to do things better. And then we have some counties that are cooking with gas. But you know what? We need to have measures for how they're going to improve. And those organizers are going to come in to be the staff and the support to lift up the work the county committees are doing. And as we get closer to the election, then they have those door knock and phone call responsibilities. It's all about relationship building and getting that work done.
Thank you. Before we go to the next question, I just want to take a moment. I see some other community leaders out in the audience that I just want to pay tribute to for a minute while we're talking about Democrats doing the work. First of all, former state representative, former statewide candidate, went for Dukes, who I served in the House with. Good to see you, sir. We have Mr. Bobby Hughes from Sumter County, longtime state committee member, former congressional district chair. Chair Lou G. Bush from Calhoun County, give us a wave, sir. Mr. Chair, thank you for being here. And Chair Charles Johnson from Lee County. Mr. Chair, thank you for being here. We appreciate all the work you guys do. Okay, this next question, and before I ask this next question, let me just remind you guys that the next segment coming up, we're going to give you guys a chance to ask your questions. So be thinking about questions that you have for folks up on this stage. Okay, this next question is going to be a 90-second question. And it is from Chantel. Let's talk about county committees. What do you think are a few of the largest problems or issues for the DPG's county committees, and do you have any ideas about how to tackle them? And we will start with Elena.
I'm glad you asked me that question first. One of the main things is accountability. We do not hold our local committees accountable. I can tell you about Newton County. Our chair passed away 2 years ago. So we had nobody represent us with all that time until 2025. And so the line of communication has never been there. I speak with a lot of seniors in my community who complain about being treated certain ways in their local committee. And they have expressed those concerns to the state, and they said that they have not heard anything back. We have to make sure that line of communication is open. I believe in the corporate structure that you should respond to someone within 24 leaders that are in this.
If we can't fund campaigns on the ground, if we can't fund campaigns on the ground, if we can't and get a Democrat in a Democratic seat, but it's communication, coordination, and support and funding. That's what our county committees need.
Wendy, same question. What do you think are some of the largest issues facing our county parties, and what are your ideas to tackle them?
Well, as the person on the stage who has spent the most years actually active in my county party, I've seen a lot of the problems, and I've been somebody who's finding solutions to those problems for what the work the county committees need to do. We need to stop with top-down directives or top ignoring you, right, which we've had for far too long, and we need to bring support to lift up the good ideas and the good energy. It's about everybody involved are volunteers. Volunteer management, recruitment, retention, teaching people about relationship building. And by that, y'all don't need help with that. It's the young people we send in to help. We've got to give them space to build those relationships. And we have to give you time and space to have goals. I want to have teams of volunteers from all over the state who are coming in to help. If your county committee is not getting the progress you want with your fundraising, I want a group of folks to be able to come in and help lift up, give you access to training materials, but have that sort of concierge service. Sometimes you just need a friendly face to kind of hold your hand and go, okay, the way we handled it was this, your variation might be different, but let's figure it out together. We've got to be working together. We have the knowledge, we have the skills, we have the talents. We need to be giving people the freedom to take these tasks on and run with them.
Thank you. Okay, next question, same theme, talking about county parties. And Jay, we're going to start with you. What tools, training, and resources do you believe county committees need the most?
Great question, Chair. The biggest thing that we did when we took in Chatham County, when I took over in 2018, was we identified the fact that most people in the leadership of the party within the county didn't even understand how the structure worked. And so what we did was we educated them on why post-seat holders were available and how their district mattered. And so most people didn't even understand who their leaders were. in county commission. And if you ain't know anything about being a postie holder and a part of the county committee, it is an image that matches what goes on in your county commission. And so when we started having these competitions, as far as District 1 versus District 8, saying, well, what are the problems in District 1? What are the problems in District 8? And we saw different districts had different issues. We had those issues in those parallels, and then we looked at it from an 8 tier of all 8 counties, and we added all those 8 issues together, and we formed a platform. And that platform was why we transferred all the power from Republicans into Democratic hands. The power is in the people, but the people have to understand how the power works. And if they don't understand how the power works, they will never succeed. They exist.
Nabila, same question. What tools, training, and resources do you believe county committees need the most?
Hi, so I've worked for a national party, I've worked for a state party, and I've worked for my local Gwinnett Democratic Party. And the most meaningful work I did was working for my county party. And when we raised, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we were able to send out mail, that we get them qualified staffers. A lot of folks talked about over the phones, during the runoffs, we had these top tier operations, but now that all the money's gone, we don't see anything. I want to be able to help our county parties with resources, with staff, and including them into the strategic plan that is going to win even more seats in the state of Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. Hardy, same question. What tools, training, resources do you believe county committees need the most?
County committees need the most, number 1, fundraising support. Number 2, leadership training. And 3, communications and media training. Those things are vital if you're going to run a day-to-day operation year-round, not just during presidential and gubernatorial elections. These are the things that I've consistently heard from county parties all across the state of Georgia. Again, we have to recognize that all counties are not created equal, not all of the same size as well, but those key things, leadership training, fundraising support, media and communications training, that then allows county parties to be consistent in how they match with what's being aligned and communicated from the state party all the way down to each of the county levels. Those are the things that consistently are missing from a day-to-day and operational perspective that we need to make sure we're putting in place.
Thank you. Okay, now we've come to the portion where I'm going to give you a chance to ask some questions. So if you have a question that you would like to pose to some or all of the candidates up on this stage, then I'm just going to ask you to please make your way to this microphone right over here, and we will have those questions. Chairman Hughes, I know you're not a shy man. I know you got some questions.
I'll start it off for you.
Go ahead. Yeah, if you'll tell us your name and what county you're from, please.
Okay. I'm Corey Foreman. I'm from Bryan County. It's a long way out, and I'll talk to you again probably in Statesboro and try to make the other ones do. All right, so if I can, this would be for everybody, and you can set the time limit.
Go ahead.
Young registered voters in Georgia, especially in communities of color, are turning out at lower rates despite being one of the largest eligible voter groups. What specific year-round strategies will you implement to engage and mobilize these voters beyond just civic education? And how will you ensure your plan includes peer-driven outreach, issue-based organizing, and digital engagement that actually turns interest into action?
Okay, he'd like each of you to answer that question, so we'll give each of you 1 minute, and we'll start with Wendy Davis.
I'll stay close if you want me to repeat that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a lot, and it's critically important. We lost young people, the progress we had made with young people. And I was looking at some polling the other day, and we think of young people broadly as under 30. Well, the 18 to 21-year-olds have taken a hard turn to the right. And we have to stop that loss. We are not in the spaces communicating where they are getting their information. We see that clearly. So we have to figure out how to fix that and how to reach them. And part of what we have to do is stop making all of our outreach in purely political spaces. We have to be humans. We have to be reaching them in gaming. We have to be reaching them through sports where they're talking about their teams. And I'm not the person they want to hear from. it's another young person. So we have amazing young Democrats who are super talented, and we have to take their brain power, and they're not the ones we're not reaching, but we have to get their wisdom and cultural competency to reach their peers. And that's part of the way we make that process.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Jay to repeat the question. Talking about young voters, getting them engaged, including digital outreach, I believe.
You want me to repeat that?
Yes, please.
All right. This is going to take all the time. You repeat the question. Young registered voters in Georgia, especially in communities of color, are turning out at lower rates despite being one of the largest eligible voting blocks. What specific year-round strategies will you implement to engage and mobilize these voters beyond just civic education? How will you ensure your plan includes peer-driven outreach, issue-based organizing, and digital engagement that actually turns interest into action?
First thing you do, we have to meet them where they are. And I think Hardy said that earlier. Meet young people where they are. A lot of times we don't listen to them, we talk at them. And give them an opportunity to be leaders is crucial. I agree with that wholeheartedly. A lot of times and I was one of those young people where I was told, so we miss a lot of opportunities as an elected leader to make sure those things went through. Thank you.
Hardy, same question.
But we've got to hand them the microphone. Whether it's TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, or any of those tools that are available to us, they know how to leverage those tools. They're communicating on a day-to-day basis with those tools, and they are members of our state committee right now. And we've got to, again, make them valuable partners and not just see them as volunteers when we've got presidential and gubernatorial campaigns.
Thank you. Elena, same question.
You're actually in my area. I'm a social media college professor. I wrote the first college textbook on social media marketing with Pearson Education. So one of the things I'm doing now, I'm actually doing that now, I partner with the Young Democrats. We actually hosted an empowerment conference called Lead to Change for ages 14 to 25 to teach them about politics, to show them how to run a meeting, and to become effective leaders when we need them to move out the way. One of the things we definitely need to meet them at all platforms. I know in the Democratic Party, we do not reach the voter on various levels, especially that young voter. It's important for us to involve them in the conversation, because if they're not involved in the conversation, they don't believe in the mission and value of the Democratic Party. I'm now 48. I don't have the same thinking as somebody that's 18. So I have to ask the question and have a conversation with them and meet them at the platforms that are most important to them. And once we do that, we'll have effective leaders that we are building, and we also will have effective voters. Thank you.
Charlie, go ahead.
So I agree with what's been said about it, bringing the young Democrats in. I'm 42, but I don't know the first thing about TikTok. Not the first thing. The people that know how to communicate on these different platforms, let's use them to do it, because it don't need to be me. But the other piece of this is messaging. And, a lot of the ground that was lost among young people in this last election, a lot of it had to do with economics. And, I love all those old stories of New Deal politics and civil rights era and 1968 campaign and everything. But you talk to a young person about that, you might as well be talking to them about ancient Egypt. We have got to have a plan and a message that talks in plain language about their livelihoods and their expectation to make more money than they're making. And that has to do.
I rechartered the Gwinnett County Young Democrats back in 2013. It is still a thriving chapter. Listen, I actually do think the chair should be involved in leading the message to young voters. And that is using TikTok, it is using Twitter, whatever we call it nowadays. I think it's very important that our party meets voters where they're at, and especially young voters. Young voters have become jaded with our party because they don't feel like we're fighting back. And as DPG chair, I will make sure that we're fighting back, that our messaging packs a punch, that we're calling out Republicans for the horrible things that they are doing, because they're committing crimes out there. And young folks want to know that we're holding them accountable, that we're dragging them, and that we're also running strong candidates against them to flip these seats. We need to move the needle. And young voters will help us do that, but we need needle. And young voters will help us do that, but we need to inspire them to take that step and go vote, go knock on doors. And so I'm confident as the next DPG chair, I will be able to do that. Thank you.
Okay, another audience question? If not, I got plenty up here. I see Ms. Joyce heading up here.
All right, thank you very much, Joyce Barlow, Chair, Dougherty County Democratic Committee. And this question is for each of the candidates on stage today. I've heard each of you talk about your plans, and when we look at what's going on now with voters that are disengaged and disconnected, and I'm speaking specifically to Southwest Georgia, rural Georgia. As you know, the approach is very different from a large metropolitan area. You sort of touched on it. The counties that we're looking at, including Dougherty, Terrell, Stewart, Randolph, Clay, Early, Calhoun, all of those counties that are rural here. We need to hear your specific plan because we've got the midterm elections coming up. We need to know your specific plan, how we're going to get and reach and re-engage those voters who have become apathetic, thinking my vote does not count. We need specifics to hear from each one of you all. Therefore, we can make a better determination of who's prepared to lead us forward. Thank you.
Okay, let's start on this end with Hardy. And Hardy, she said specifics 5 times, so she wants to hear specifics.
I appreciate that question, Ms. Joyce. I'm gonna be consistent. Number one, we've got to have a different message, and that message requires us to rebrand the Democratic Party from the standpoint of what people care about. People in rural Georgia, Southwest Georgia, here in the heart of Albany, Dougherty County, Randolph, Bobby Jenkins, and the folks over in Randolph, Clay County, Clay City. Those individuals are interested in kitchen table issues. They want to know how we're going to pay our bills. They want to know not only how we're going to pay our bills, and so we're going to rebrand, that's first and foremost. We've got to have a message that moves us beyond the cultural wars that we've consistently been fighting for the last several years. Those issues are important. We say we're the party of the Big Ten, and I'm for that. We want to be the Good Samaritan. We want to love our neighbor as ourselves, but you got to talk about things that matter. And so it starts with that rebranding. Are there going to be job opportunities here in South Georgia that keep me from having to move to Atlanta or move to Augusta? That's what folks want to hear about. That requires us to then identify, recruit, train local talent, local candidates who can run, who are empathetic, who are relatable, who have a message that we can win Democratic races all across the ballot, from the bottom to the top. Those are the immediate things, starting with that rebranding of the message, identifying, recruiting, and retaining talent and candidates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nabila.
We need a winning message in Southwest Georgia, something that attracts voters and gets them to go vote. I think that needs to be locally driven. And also, from the state party position, we should also do poll testing, message testing, seeing what messages work the best. But it's also, we should be doing listening sessions within our communities to figure out what is working the best with voters and hammering that message. In addition to that, the best way to get someone to go vote is by knocking on their door. And again, this is expensive, but if we invest in a field operation that is intentional and targets these doors with the winning message, we can get voters to come out. But it's going to take money, but I also want it to be county driven. I want the canvassers to come from these counties. I want the folks that know their neighbors to go knock on their doors. I think that is the best way to get out the vote. Locally driven, a locally driven message, and the DPG should be investing in an infrastructure that allows that to happen, and I'm committed to doing that.
Jay, go ahead.
Chair Joyce, my mother's a retired English teacher. And she said the best way to make something easy and known is put in action. We need to be consistent, accountable, and relatable. Consistent, accountable, and relatable. We need to be consistent in everything we do for every county across the whole board. We need to be accountable for everything we do. When the elected leaders are not doing the job, we need to hold them accountable. And we need to be relatable. Relatable means we need to dump down our message to those people who ain't got the great education, who ain't got the great message, and make it relatable where we can talk to everybody. everybody across the whole district. Make it relatable where we can talk to everybody. So I'm gonna drive the car. Consistent, accountable, and relatable.
Wendy?
Thank you. How we reach voters is have real people sharing real stories. And in Southwest Georgia, we have, unfortunately, a lot of examples that we have to lay at the feet of the Republicans that have now been controlling this state for more than 20 years. The hospitals that closed. If you're in a car wreck, you and your neighbors are more likely to die than my neighbors and I are because we have 2 hospitals in my town. Telling those real stories. Where we have sheriffs. Lift up the sheriffs that are doing the work right? City council, county commissioners, those local leaders who are making sure our students have after-school programs that enrich them, right? Lift up the work that is being done in community and show those common values we share. And y'all, we can't just talk to people who have raised their hand and said, I'm a Democrat. We've got to be talking to all of our neighbors. Part of what we've done wrong is we have let our targeting become our messaging. And we've said, there are voters we don't need, there are counties we don't need. That's not true. We need to be reaching as many people as we can, and we want everyone to understand that their voice matters.
Thank you. Charlie?
I think we need to acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of people in rural Georgia that have really good cause to be quite, we're in a church, but quite pissed off. And we got to acknowledge what that anger is, that it's real, that it's justified, but we got to tell them who to blame. Because the people that are closing their hospitals, Gerald Green, Brian Kemp, and the Republicans. That's who's doing that. We cannot go in, and if you go into, in my hometown, if you go in and you don't acknowledge the way somebody feels, and you start talking up here about policies, before you get at the gut of what they're feeling, you've lost them. So acknowledge that they got cause to be pissed off, but it's that the Republicans that continue to choose big corporations, the profits of big insurance companies, over their people. Rural Georgia, including Southwest Georgia, including West Georgia, where I'm from, is filled with hardworking people. And I said it earlier, they get up every day and they're worried about, is my kid safe? How are they doing in school? If I get a hospital bill, can I pay it? Like Wendy said, can I get to a hospital? We have to, at a gut level, talk plainly, acknowledge that anger, and then tell them who to blame.
Elena, close us out.
Madam Chair, the first thing I would do is I would have the conversation with you. I would love to meet with all of the chairs in the area and listen, because I would have to know what the problem is and what's happening within your area, what's important to you and all of those in South Georgia to be able to solve the problem. And then host consistent town halls to let you know that I'm there, that I'm present, and I'm here fighting for you along with the entire Democratic Party. Then once we do that, we have to get the people involved. You're gonna hear me constantly say, I've been saying this since yesterday, accountability and education. Your local level officials, especially those who are Democrat, we have to hold them accountable for not doing what they're supposed to be doing in your community that's lacking. The resources you're not having, the economic development you don't have, the school system, as well as your school board needs to be included in that. We have to make sure that we are holding them all accountable. And being present within your areas and letting you know that the Democratic Party is here to provide the resources, the support, the service, the knowledge and education for you to thrive and strive within your communities, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you. Okay, before we move on to closing statements and end tonight's program, I just want to recognize a few other leaders that I saw here in the audience tonight. And for those YouTubers, you get the sad misfortune of not being here in the presence of such greatness tonight. But I want to recognize Chairman Hurd of the Dougherty County Commission, and I would be remiss if I did not pay tribute to newly sworn-in Commissioner Diane Brown, who, Madam Chair, will tell me again, how many votes was it in the runoff?
Won in the runoff by 6 votes.
6 votes in a runoff, and tonight she was sworn in as a commissioner here in Dougherty County. so don't tell me that your vote doesn't count. Also, Dravian McGill, Chris County Chair, and Jeremiah Mullins and Lorenzo Hurd. Thank you very much for being here with us tonight. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground tonight. I've still got 25 questions I want to ask these folks up here, but we've got 3 other forums to ask them. So we'll call that a night for Albany. I'm going to give each of them an opportunity to give a 2-minute, and I'll have a few brief announcements for you. And I'm sorry.
Really a question. Ma'am? I'll be fast.
Oh, ask a candidate question?
Well, it's kind of a question.
I tell you what, let's let them do their closing arguments, and then if you stick around, they're going to stick around as well, okay? So we're going to go in reverse order from opening statements, and we're going to start our closing statements with Charlie Bailey.
Wonderful again to be with y'all tonight. Let me say, in this moment in America, in this moment in this state, our people, whether they be folks that vote Democratic every election or people that we need to give, the folks that we fight for, they need to see us fighting. They need to see that we understand the urgency of this moment and what is required. I promise you, if I'm elected chair of this party, I'm going to bust my butt every day to do exactly what I said up here. That is, raise that tremendous, to understand the urgency that is needed. And when I say tremendous amount of money, I'm not talking about tens of thousands or a couple of $100,000. I'm talking about millions of dollars. And I've raised over $4 million in my campaigns for statewide office. We're going to raise a lot more of that into this party. And we're going to use that to go after these seats, to take out Gerald Green and others in the State House so we can close that gap in the State House, so we can close the gap in the State Senate. If we're not prepared to do that, then we're not showing our people that we're fighting. We're leaving our folks, our candidates, out on the field to fight with one arm and 2 arms tied behind their back. No more of that when I am chair. We are going to, in my first term, which will only be a year and a half, but I'm going to travel personally to every county in this state. We're going to build back the county parties that don't exist. We're going to stand up and build up the county parties that are there. We're going to have that 159 county year-long infrastructure built up. And I promise you, I can't promise you this. I cannot promise you that every single seat that we target that we'll win. But I promise you we'll win more than we lose. And even the ones we lose, they're going to have to walk over broken glass to get those seats from us. That is what our voters in this moment, that is what they demand, and that is what I will deliver for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie. Hardy Davis.
Again, thank you, Albany, for inviting us over here. Excited to be here. As your next party chair, I've walked this road before. I've served in the House of Representatives, the State Senate, and 2 terms as mayor of Augusta, Georgia. I've won, I've governed, I've delivered. I want to do the same thing as the party chair, making sure that we're winning the State House back so that we can turn Georgia blue from Albany to Augusta, from Atlanta to Appalachian Hills. And the way that we do that is by building a permanent infrastructure of 159 counties. We rebrand the Democratic Party. We invest in our young Democrats, and we spend money that matches our mission. And in order to do that, I'm asking you for your support as the next chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia.
Thank you, Hardy. Wendy.
Thank you. Appreciate those who hosted tonight. And I also want to thank our Democratic Party of Georgia staff, many of whom are here tonight. Thank you for the hard work you do all the time. We're grateful. As I mentioned, last time I lived down here and spent a lot of time down here working all kinds of hours was for Congressman Bishop, and I'm honored to have gotten his endorsement. And as a closing, I just want to read the words he sent me to share with y'all. Wendy Davis is a leader we need right now to meet this moment, build our party, and win elections. She's been in the trenches in rural Georgia and our urban cores. She can connect people, raise money, and deliver our winning message all across our state in tough races, as she has done for 30 years. She is business and labor friendly and not afraid to stand up for our democratic values and democracy itself. Wendy has always been for us, and she has my strong support to be our next chair. You can see more about my career and my bold plans at wendyforus.com. And know that with me as your chair, you get the grit of a seasoned organizer, the heart of a servant leader, and you can count on me to put in the hours and the miles. I ask for your vote and support to be the chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia, and I will take us to the next level as a consistently successful battleground state. But I can't do it alone because it's about us, it's not about me, it's about us building the party from the ground up. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Wendy. Next, Jay Jones.
I appreciate the second district for allowing us to come here and grace us with your presence. My name is James J. Jones. I am currently sitting in the 1st Congressional District Chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia. I am an advocate who has been through one part all the way through to that part. I have seen the struggles you see in South Georgia because I am South Georgia. I'm just on the other side. And when I say I understand what those rural counties are going through, I understand because guess what? I'm on the other side. I understand what we get out of Metro Atlanta. And I love Metro Atlanta because I've lived there before too. But what we need in South Georgia is change. And the only way we're going to get change is by putting a leader in the position that's going to bring change and move the narrative forward. Not just somebody with philosophy, but with actual principles who understand the Democratic Party. And I am that leader that's going to bring that change. My name is James J. Jones, and I am running to be the next Democratic Party of Georgia chair. I thank you again.
Thank you, Jay. Nabila.
Thank you for having us this evening. And also, if you've heard a baby in the background, my son is here. He's very engaged with today's forum. Right now, our state party needs fundraising and we need organizing. We need lots of it, and we need to do it very quickly. I have raised over $50 million for other Democrats up and down the ballot. I'm confident that I can raise the funds that we need at a rapid pace, and on day one, I can hit the ground running. Also, we need to make sure we have a organizing infrastructure that can handle the number of doors that we need to knock. And I'm going to make sure that we invest our resources in an infrastructure that is top tier, that is also has our county parties involved as well. I have experiences doing both. I've won close races as well. So I'm running for DPG chair because I know that on day one, I will focus on the priorities in making this a strong party and making sure that we have the resources in order to succeed. And lastly, I will make sure that the Democratic Party of Georgia is holding Republicans accountable, that we are messaging strongly, and we are on the offensive as well, and holding every single Republican that is doing horrible things to our state and nationally accountable. And as DPG chair, I'm confident I'll be able to do those priorities, and I hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabila. And finally, Elaine.
First, I want to say thank you for having me tonight. It's very important for me to be here because during my term, actually becoming a candidate, I had to talk to each and every one committee member and listen to the concerns. And as a grassroots organizer, I am also a lobbyist at the Capitol. So I see those bills that are coming through that are affecting us, as well as I work for organizations that fight for people, that fight for purpose, that fight for the environment, that fights for our voice. And that's what I want to be. I am a progressive leader. I am unapologetically will speak for you. When there's issues that are out there right now, the Democratic Party is silent. They should not be silent. We should have a leader that's not afraid to speak on why we're getting rid of DEI. Why are you doing things against our teachers? Why are plants been put in areas, in the black and brown areas that are hurting our individuals, are hurting those in rural areas, bringing in various things and not bringing the jobs that you need? That progressive leader should be speaking on those issues as well as fundraising and providing the funding that we need in order to survive. The Republican Party is strategizing every day and all day, and we do not, as I stated earlier, have a playbook on where we're going, especially the election that we have in June. We should have that playbook ready. And as your next chair, I will make sure that we strategize year around, that we will have the people that are electable, that we're going to flip the seats. We are going to do the research.
/DPG election. And you will see the links for our next forum, which is this Saturday in Cobb County. And there's a specific link where you can submit a question or RSVP to attend. We have 2 other candidate forums next week as well. Please join us for one of those. And if you come into Cobb this weekend, or you got nothing to do on Saturday, we need your help in Cobb County, because Cobb County has a special election for their commission, 2 commission seats that are up. The election is on Tuesday. So we're doing the forum on Saturday evening, Saturday afternoon. We're doing what? We're knocking doors. We're knocking doors. So there's also a mobilized link to sign up to help us come canvass Saturday afternoon. We hope that you will join us. On behalf of the Democratic Party of Georgia, I want to thank each of you for joining us here tonight, and a huge thank you to the Oak Ridge Baptist Church. Pastor Yao, thank you very much. The Dougherty County Dems, 2nd Congressional District, and Rural Council for co-hosting tonight. We'll see y'all on Saturday in Cobb County. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we get the candidates to hold for a minute, just get a group picture? Everyone that's here that wants